Okay, so welcome to our session today. I am glad that you were able to make it. It's a small crew today, but you guys won't be disappointed with what we're going to be presenting today. And it's part of our new virtual training that we're offering from CMKG. Just to let you know a little bit about CMKG, we are a training company. We're creators of training that relates to category management and data and analytics and shopper insights, presentation skills, everything to do with for retailers and suppliers as it relates to category management, but it's not just about category management. And you'll see that if you're participating in our series in the next few days. So we work with a lot of different kinds of companies. You can see on the right-hand side, we're highly experienced and we have a huge passion for training. And so it allows us to, this new virtual training just gives us another way to connect with our students and the clients that we work with. So in today's session, we're going to be, for all of our series, actually, there's going to be virtual training courses where you can experience the course, and it also gives you the opportunity to understand potential for virtual training for your company. But if you're specific to a topic that you're interested in, you are going to learn some new stuff. I've compiled some really great learnings for you related to the different topics that we have. And so looking forward to having your participation as we go through this. So in terms of your participation, I would love it if you could turn on your webcam. We're trying to make this something that is an actual virtual training. And I know some of you might be going, oh my goodness, I'm wearing pajamas or something like that. But if you can turn on your webcam just to make it more personal and interesting, that would be great. I'm also going to be asking you to participate in some polling questions that we have. So having your mobile device or computer ready to answer the polling questions and really experience this live virtual training. So I hope you're excited. So we're going to be going through 3 pieces as it relates to that secret sauce to get strategy into your analytics. This is one of the areas that I see as being a really big miss for a lot of people when they're doing their analytics, is the struggle of what's relevant and what's not, what's a true insight and what's not. And so I want to talk about pizza. I love pizza. I've actually cut back on pizza this last year. Just because it is not great for me, but I love it. And so when you think about pizza, there's 3 different elements. And the first part is the crust. And that is really the strategies and goals associated with what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So to start, you really need to be clear about what your company is trying to accomplish. Sometimes I ask people what the overall goals and objectives for their organization are, and they're not really sure. So you need to understand your organizational or overarching strategies or objectives for your company and what you're trying to achieve in terms of overall business results and how you're going to get there. Sometimes with focus areas that need improvement. And if you call on retail customers, you also need to understand theirs. Because if you're not understanding what their overall strategies and best practices and goals and what they're trying to do are about, then you're going to have a very hard time finding the most compelling insights associated with that. So first of all, know your company and your customers' goals. And there's different types of KPIs or key performance indicators for some companies. Most of all, they're financial usually, but honestly, there should be some other KPIs. And so these are some examples of some of the financial KPIs in the resources that I give you after the course. Then you're going to be able to access if you want to go and review these, because there's a lot of different KPIs that you can be looking at. Then there's also shopper KPIs. And so we really want to make sure that we don't just have financial KPIs, but sometimes we're not asked for our input into the overall corporate scorecard. But this is when you can also be developing strategies, even alongside your internally for your categories. What are your shopper KPIs? And then also for categories for retail clients, or if you're a category manager for a retailer, what are your KPIs? Because without them, you're really going to have a difficult time in understanding what's an insight or what's not. So you really need in these company and customer goals and understanding to understand what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to get there. And so if you're not sure of those things, especially like either for your company or for your customers, it is a really critical first part. And so some of the resources you can get access are the annual reports, news articles, asking other people, talking to your manager. But it is a really, really critical thing for you to build your business acumen and understand the strategically, where are we trying to go? Because if you're doing analytics at your desk, and no matter how good of an analyst you are, if you're not of the understanding of the overarching strategies of what you're trying to accomplish, you're not going to draw in the correct insights from it, just point blank. So now I understand my goals and strategies, and now I'm working at my desk on a category assessment. I start finding some really great insights that I'm going to suggest to my retail customer. And that's just an example of when we might be doing this. There's different reasons for you doing an assessment. So I'm just using the retailer example. But so I come up with these opportunities: increase market share in the premium segment, grow sales by a certain percentage, increase shopper loyalty with millennials, increase dollars spent per buyer. So I come up with these opportunities. So what's missing from this? So I see this category assessment, I see these opportunities. What am I missing now? So if I go in and I go to talk to my retail category manager about this, or as a retail category manager, if somebody comes in and says, let's increase market share in the premium segment because you're less developed than you could or should be, and it's an opportunity, what would you want to know? So if you want to type that in the chat box, some of your thoughts on what you might want to know beyond that. So some of the thing that might be missing is the strategy. So there's if you have goals, but you don't have strategies behind how you're going to achieve it that give you that kind of roadmap, it's going to be really difficult for you to know where you're going. So, and this is the area that I see so many times when there's an interest in, people come out with interesting insights, but they're not sure if they're relevant for the category or for their retail customer. It might even go against what they're trying to accomplish, but they don't realize it because they're not basing the insights on some strategic foundations. And so for strategy, you need a few things. And one of them is well-defined category management foundations. You know, when I hear like, oh, category management is dying and it's going to be replaced by shopper insights and stuff, I say phooey on that, because if you really have an innate understanding of the category management foundations, then, and you can apply that to your categories, it is going to make things so much better, because it really does provide a roadmap of where you need to go. And this includes retailer and supplier overarching strategies, category definition and segmentation, and also category roles and strategies. I'm not going to go into details about these, but if you don't understand the category management foundations, or what I mean by that, then you do have the opportunity to better understand that through some training. I mean, CMKG has training. There may be other avenues for you to find training, but you really want to make sure that you are thinking about things from those Catman foundations. If you don't have those, you're kind of going to be going a little bit more loosely, and you may, once in a while you might hit the right target, but sometimes you might be completely off base. And so the second part of strategy relates to your insights, which should be derived from the overarching category management foundations, just like I talked about. So if I have this little simple example, so say I identified that there's rapid growth in a specific segment in a category. Let's say it's plant-based proteins in the pasta category. When I do a bit more digging into the details, I might identify that even though the retailer is already highly developed in this segment, there's still some opportunity for them to grab more share. And when I dig more deeply into that, I see that promotion and some new listings really could help them. And I have the numbers to prove it. And so when I look at this example here, you can see that the category is up 4%. Then you can see the different segments, and plant-based protein is up 17%. Then I've got this category development index. And so if you're not familiar with CDI, it's the retailer share of market by product group divided by the retailer share of market by segment. And so, or by category. And so it indicates where a retailer is most or least developed within their segments. And so you can see that they're already more developed in the plant-based protein segment than in some of these other segments. But I've identified that there's an opportunity for them to even grow further and even grab more share, even though they're highly developed. So one of the things that we tend to do with indexes is we say, oh, you're overdeveloped in these segments because of the 111. And so we might not even cite it as an example, even though if we dig into it, we go, you want to know what? You grabbed share faster than other retailers, faster than other competitors in the market. And we still think that there's a huge opportunity for growth. And so sometimes if we don't, otherwise we might struggle with opportunities that we might find, but we go, oh, they're already highly developed, so never mind. And so by having these strategies associated with developing insights, it just makes it so much easier for you to come up with strategies. So rather than just having an assessment insight where you say, oh, there's rapid growth in this segment, you're very well developed in it, we should keep focusing on that area. Then if we say, you know, the opportunity is to increase your share, I think you're going to be able to grab 1 or 2 more share points. This is the value of it in this growing segment through a little bit more promotion because your competitors are promoting more, and also with some new listings that you're missing out on that are unique within the plant-based proteins. So that's the kind of examples of strategies. And so here's some other examples for you. I'm not going to go through these right now, but rather than keeping it at insights, make sure that you tie it in with strategies and things that they need to be doing in order to make it insightful, but make it also very focused on exactly what it is that they should be doing instead of leaving it over on the insight side. So hopefully that helps with that piece. So the next thing that you want to do, I've got my category plan. And like I said, don't have a category plan that looks like this, where increased market share in the growing segment, list products, increase ads. It has to be deeper than this. Make sure you include the shopper in there. The shopper, if you use those Catman foundations properly, the shopper is already baked into your overall category management foundations. And then you want to make sure that you have the strategies tied in with this category plan. So it's not just these tactical things, but there's actually strategies like I just walked you through to make it really compelling. So now we have a solid crust of pizza. So it's baked with goals and strategies for solid foundations that's going to hold your pie together. And it's also really going to make sure that you focus on the right ingredients to put on top of it. So get your crust right. And then you get into the relevant insights. So the retailer, you know, I talked about this already, where their share of market. So and I've got the formulas over on the right-hand side in case you don't understand these, but the retailer does 27.6% of the total pasta in this example in the marketplace. And then you can see what share of market they represent of each of these different segments. So in segment 1, they do 24.2% of the business and so on. So by doing a category development index, like I showed you on the previous page, you can see that the numbers, the corresponding numbers that I showed you previously. And so all that you can derive without understanding the strategy here is that segments 1, 2, and 3 they're less developed in them versus the market, and segment 4 is more developed, and segment 5 is really highly developed. You can't say that you should not be saying these are good or bad numbers, or that, you know, they should be trying to get their development on segments 1, 2, and 3 up to 100. And that they're highly or overdeveloped, and maybe they should they should be pulling back on that, because that is just using numbers as numbers, and there's no strategy, there's no thought about applying that strategic category understanding. So what do I mean by that? imagine if segment 5 was actually their private label segment, and is obviously very important to them and highly profitable for them. So if you're going in and making recommendations to be pulling back on that, unless you have specific proof to show that this is not beneficial for them, you don't want to be going down that street, because private label is a very, very important strategic component for retailers. And imagine if segment 4, like we already show, it's plant-based protein in the example I showed for pasta. And so perhaps they want to be highly developed in that segment, especially if it ends up being matching well with their target consumers. And then segment 2, they're only at an 88 category development index, but imagine if they're a value brand that directly competes with private label. So if you're that value brand, then it may not be something that is you're not going to probably get very far with them if they have the opportunity to understand that that is their biggest competition, is that segment 2. So why would they want to increase development in that segment if it's a less loyal customer, or if it's going to compete directly with their private label? And then the other 2 segments might be identified as opportunities as well. So then what you can do is tie in strategies to each of the different segments that you're talking about. So perhaps they've decided we just want to maintain share of market because we're highly developed in this segment, but we've got some areas that we want to grow in, and then we've got some areas that we want to maintain, or that we're even willing to reduce the development there. And so by having some targets associated with it and applying the strategies behind those different pieces, you really do end up with a much more strategic approach that's not just these numbers that, oh, below 100, that's not good numbers and we need to increase development there. And oh, if it's over, we got to cut back on support or listings or whatever, because that doesn't make sense. Because if I really want to be highly developed on segment 4, I might end up having more items than their fair share indicates. I might decide to promote more. I might decide to give them a little bit more shelf space, like those kind of things, because I strategically want to grow in those segments. And so don't use indexes and fair shares to just as the 100 base. I'm going to be talking about that in one of our other upcoming sessions, about some of the faux pas and some of the things that you really want to strategically be using measures beyond them just being a number. So now we have some great toppings to go on the pizza. More focus on the measures that are relevant based on your strategy and your goals, knowing your key data sources. Make sure you understand them, and make sure you're not just using point of sale data or syndicated POS data, or you want to make sure that you have a really robust set of data to be looking at and understanding the business. And if you don't feel comfortable with measures, make sure that you're going in and understanding them. And even if it's the ones that are in your overall corporate objectives, if there's some that you don't understand, go look into them to find the meaning behind them, because it's really important to understand what your company is trying to accomplish. Hopefully you've got information on what your categories are trying to accomplish. A lot of the time I find that there's not really strategically set visions for categories. And also understanding your retail customers if you do call on customers. And ensure that you're by doing this and by having those that strategy, you're going to be able to turn your data into insights. And without that information, you're not going to. Or you're going to have insights, but they may not be related to the business that you're trying to come up with insights for. And then finally, the last piece is scorecards. So scorecards really give you the basis for being able to plan for, okay, so now we understand the overall strategies. We've done the analytics. We've found very relevant insights. And so now we want to develop a scorecard for the category. This is not going to look the same as your corporate organizational scorecard, but just at a category level. It might from the volumetrics or the financials. So it may be something that you end up understanding the last year we did 500,000. This year our target is 550,000. So we need to build our sales by 50,000. And some of the key measures there, but the ones that you want to really make sure that you include as well are the ones that are going to help you to achieve your plan. So some of the ones, like if I've identified that I want my premium segment share to grow, and that's going to be worth a certain number of dollars, that I should have the target in there. And then we should be measuring against that to see if we're able to grab that additional market share. And there might be things like store brand share and average household category dollars per year, those kind of things. But making sure that they tie in with the assessment insights, the strategies that you put into place in order to be able to then measure them through the scorecard metrics on the right-hand side. So you can really create a compelling live scorecard that you really feel confident is going to help you to achieve your goals. And so the whole thing just ties in beautifully together so that you've got that sauce and cheese that pull everything together and allow you to create relevant scorecards for your business based on what you're trying to accomplish. If you work with retailers or retailers who are doing these scorecards on their own, make sure that you have them so that you have this whole plan and you can create this beautiful, delicious pizza or category plan that is really going to help you to achieve your goals. So I hope that you found this useful. It is just some really quick thoughts on things, but ways to incorporate that strategic component into your work, because without it, your analytics are going to be very limited. And it's kind of interesting because, as we move to more AI and machine learning, the thinking and logic that I just walked you through, that can't be replaced. That requires human thinking. And so you really need to realize that that strategic component is the most important part that you can really hone in on and start to make sure that you incorporate into your own work. So in terms of next steps, you're going to receive an email with a tool to help you start working on your secret sauce. And that's going to only be for the people who participated in the Zoom meeting. And if you want to learn more about the instructor-led virtual training, we have a webpage on that. And I'll be sending an email out that relates to all of the things that I'm talking about in the next steps here. And you also have the opportunity to purchase an annual subscription. And if you are interested in better understanding virtual training for your team, you can contact me. My email address is there, or if you have any questions. But we do have a special deal on purchasing virtual training that's specific and private to your team as well, that kind of goes through something like this, more hands-on, but fun and exciting and very relevant to whatever it is that is the opportunity for your training. So I hope you found that helpful. We are running another session tomorrow, and that one is on developing virtual sales presentations. So totally different topic, super relevant in today's world. And I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a great day. So thank you very much for participating. I will open it up for questions right now if anybody has any questions. And otherwise, I hope to see you at our session tomorrow. Happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, Angie.